On May 25th, 1977, George Lucas's epic space opera about a rebel alliance led by Princess Leia and its attempt to destroy the Galactic Empire's space station, the Death Star, starring Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, earned a whopping $461 million in the US box office and $314 million overseas, ranking the newest, highest-grossing film of all time.
Process begin!
Its legacy would last deep into the 21st century, with 2 more films to finish out the trilogy, an entire second prequel trilogy that was only good in a memeable sense, 2 animated spin-off series, books, video games, a 3rd sequel trilogy, not even good in a memeable sense, comics, toys, fan series that were to then get screwed over by Lucasfilm's parent company Disney, and so many more. Honestly, there's so much content to talk about with regards to the Star Wars franchise of, varying degrees of quality. We have decent, we have passable, we have tolerable, and we have spectacular, but we're not talking about any of that. You see, you all complain incessantly about how the new trilogy is at best a rehashing of the original trilogy, just with more vagina to boot. But would you for my own sake, because this needs to happen. Harken back with me to a simpler time when Star Wars fanboys could only dream that was their biggest problem. Today, I wish to talk with you about an utter train wreck of content, one of George Lucas's less successful, realizations. You see, it all started one day when George Lucas went up to CBS and asked, what if we took the concept of Wookiees and made an entire film just about Wookiees? And because this is George Lucas, and the year before his epic space opera had done absolutely spectacularly, his idea was indulged upon. This is the first in a line of Star Wars related decisions that would have made better fertilizer, let's be honest. Oh, the year after A New Hope was released in theaters, Friday, November 17th, 1978, from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, CBS decided to air the Star Wars Holiday Special on live television for the first and the last time ever. This film ranks number 1 on the 100 dumbest events in television history list. And we are going to go through exactly what makes this special edition of Star Wars content so special. The official summary on IMDb's database is simply this. Chewbacca and Han Solo try to get to the Wookiee homeworld of Kashyyyk to celebrate Life Day, but are impeded by an Imperial blockade. Chewie's family passes the time with various forms of entertainment. Which, my friends, is just a fancy way of saying that this entire movie was a cheap and lazy cash grab consisting of runtime padding and over an hour of just Wookiee grunts without subtitles. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. And if you think an hour of this is an acceptable thing to special release to a public who's expecting something akin to A New Hope, I don't know what to tell you except that perhaps you should see a doctor about your maladaptive mental state. That cannot be contingent of a successful existence by any stretch of the imagination. Nope.
Now, luckily, my show co-host for Cocktail Hour, Polydub, convinced me that this wasn't, in fact, the glaringly obvious failed abortion that I had initially thought it was. Rather, the holiday special in all its lunacy was meant as an opportunity. Where I had seen a closed door, God had opened a window somewhere, and thus was born our collab over on Polydub's channel, where we transcribe and translate some of those Wookiee noises for the audience in a most diabolical and dark-humored way. Link in the description. Hope you enjoy. Anyway.
Now, if you were to ask me if viewing this train wreck were worth the experience, I'd tell you not to waste your time unless you are either incredibly high, incredibly drunk, incredibly both, or on your way there. I was none of that during the viewing of this train wreck. So on paper, the idea of an entire movie just about Wookiees and their homeworld sounds like it could be an interesting concept given what we've seen from Chewbacca in A New Hope. In execution, not all it was hyped up to be. No. Chewbacca's family looks like it was something out of a Gremlins furry movie. They're too creepy to actually be adorable but passable, set up to live in a treehouse. A revolutionary idea that was wasted on this burning trash fire. This idea, interestingly enough, was not to be redeemed until 2 decades later with the release of the first episode of Bear in the Big Blue House in 1997. Thankfully, by this point, daytime television had figured out that audiences don't really like it when your large furry bear creatures speak in untranslated and undubbed grunting noises that they can't understand for an impossibly long number of minutes without another person present to translate for them. Audience, I gotta ask, when you think of Star Wars film, do you think pretty much stylized walkthrough of Wookiee life, or space battles, lightsaber duels, and blaster showdowns? A slam dunk executive decision, I must say. The most compelling thing to show an audience at a Star Wars special about Wookiees and their homeworld is obviously to focus on the characters and how they're waiting around for things to happen. Well done. We get a never-ending montage of Chewbacca's family waiting around for Chewbacca to show up, complete with watching people engage in 2 entire separate cameo scenes of your favorite characters of the original movie talking about when Chewbacca will show up, featuring a coked up Carrie Fisher and a Mark Hamill who, at the time, still had hope for the future of the franchise. I'm so sorry we let you down.
So could you do me a favor and send either Chewbacca or Han Solo to the screen, please?
She says that she would like to grant your request, but is quite unable to do so.
You mean they haven't arrived yet?
Watching Wookiees. Watch the space equivalent of a Martha Stewart cooking show, perhaps if Martha wore blackface and did an abundance of hard drugs all day, every day. No stop.
Of course, if your family has a hearty appetite, I would suggest then that old popular holiday favorite, the Bantha Rump.
This lasts for entirely too many minutes, people. Entirely too many. Watching a Wookiee watch a scene lifted from the 1941 Dumbo deleted cuts of the scene with the bubbles and the drunkenness escapades in live action, or perhaps just a really derivative Cirque du Soleil. Watching a Wookiee grandfather watch some Black Mirror-esque erotic psychedelic light show music video ripped directly from a James Bond intro, except drunk.
I'm getting your message. Are you getting mine? Oh, we are excited, aren't we? Well, just relax. Just relax. Yeah.
And it just keeps going on and on and on. Diane Carroll, she does her best, but no one's best can save this. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you a secret. I find you adorable. I'll tell you a secret. I find you adorable. I find you adorable.
Yeah, Itchy. Yeah, you keep tapping that button. Bop it, bitch. Performance by Jefferson Starfish, who upon further research I have found out was a psychedelic rock band. At this point, is anyone really surprised? Really? One of the reviews reported by the AV Club's Nathan Rabin is, I kid you not, I'm not convinced this special wasn't ultimately written and directed by a sentient bag of cocaine. Watching a Wookiee watch an entire mini cartoon of the heroes from the very movie that we're watching, as if at the same time they exist in the meta-reality of this film, they also exist in a fictional reality that exists in this film. In addition, someone thought it was a good idea to take rejected Dr. Seuss concept art and turn it into what I can only guess is rebel propaganda within the reality of this film. And the kid, Lumpy's his name? Yeah, is watching it while Imperial soldiers are searching his house.
Millennium Falcon.
They're coming out of light speed. I can't make contact.
Try a lower channel.
Falcon, do you copy? Come in, Falcon.
It's Chewie, but where's Han?
Who greenlit this? I need to know. Then we have the thorough bison decapitation. Watching a Wookiee watch a Star Wars version of a YouTube tutorial video.
Following the instructions I am about to give you, it will provide many years of fun
and valuable service for you.
Watching Imperial soldiers watch an Imperial propaganda video to counterbalance the cartoon from the audience's benefit, because even in the 70s, all ideas are created equal, guys. But this isn't just any Imperial propaganda video, people. It is an Imperial propaganda video on your favorite planetary dive, Tatooine, featuring a romantic subplot between Hole in His Head and Woman with Adam's Apple that is more compelling than the entirety of the rest of this film.
I'm not pouring, we are not drinking, we are talking. I'm moving this to make room for a drink so that next time I say what'll it be, and you tell me, I can put it right there.
Also, we have another music number featuring Woman with Adam's Apple as the main singer person.
Face to face. Next time you're dry, friend, try stopping by, friend, if there's a light in the place.
All of the Wookiees moving into the afterlife. I think that's what this scene is, because we have to round out this plot eventually. We can't keep putting off the regularly scheduled programming, even though our plot filler is not any better at all. And finally, we end the agony of this film with Carrie Fisher's other solo indulgence.
A day of peace, a day of harmony.
A cocaine-induced, absolutely necessary fourth music number that neuters the original John Williams score by putting vocals to it. You know, people, everyone gives Disney a lot of flack for their current day work with the franchise, but at least they did away with the VR erotica. In fact, the one correct decision that Disney has made with regards to this franchise, and one I entirely agree with, is disowning from the canon this furry-faced debauchery-riddled botched abortion of a holiday special. Small blessings, people. This movie was a violation of my constitutional right from cruel and unusual punishment, and I just want everyone to know that.